Okay, so herkese merhaba arkadaşlar. Welcome everyone. Hoş geldiniz. Dersimiz şimdi başlıyor. Evet, the song is now in our heads. Okay, a quick reminder for those who don't know, for the new people. This is like a lecture. You don't talk. It is only me talking about things, but you can type in the channel. For that, you need to go to the lessons text channel, and then you can see a thread in that text channel. You can click on the Think in Turkish thread, then you will see the chat. That's where I will be reading. And if you are watching the stream right now, I can also show you quickly. You need to go to the lessons text channel, then you will see the thread here. You can also click here and you will see the chat here. Okay? Yeah, you can comment on things, you can give answers, you can talk about other things that come to your mind. It is where we will communicate with each other. But it will be mostly me talking about the Turkish, interesting things about the Turkish language. This lesson is kind of different. It won't be like the usual lessons. I will not teach the grammar. I will not teach new words. I will mostly be talking about how you should think in Turkish. For that, there are a few key points you need to know. We mainly talked about them in previous lessons, in the grammar tips for beginners lesson. We talked about agglutination, omissions like dropping words, and a few other things. We will now go into details. This is more like a tips and tricks lesson. Instead of grammar, it will be mostly tips and tricks. And for that reason, tomorrow there will not be a homework. Sometimes, from like this year, I will do tips and tricks lessons like this, and that week we will skip the homework. You need a break sometimes. I need a break. So instead of skipping that day completely, talking about this, having a chat, having a conversation about the Turkish language still will be helpful. So in this lesson, we will talk about the nature of the Turkish language. But before we start, I want to give a disclaimer. Most of these key points are my opinion, based on my experience, based on my observation when I was also learning other languages. So this is not going to give you the absolute truth. It is only going to give you some tips from me. But what we will be talk about, what are the important points? This is like a quick summary of what to expect. So verbs in Turkish, verbs are the backbones of the Turkish sentence. When we need to build a sentence in Turkish, we need to start with the verb. You need to start thinking of the action. We will talk about the steps, how to conjugate them, how to give more information. But first, put your head to think about the actions. You need to think about what is this action, and then who is doing this action, or when is this action happening. After you got the verb complete, you need to have more information in the sentence. That's where the sentence structure comes in. And Unfortunately, Turkish is kind of like a system of like a complex dynamics. Everything is connected to each other. It is very unlike English. And I will also try to talk about why it is that different. And also, the Turkish language is a practical language. Practical here means you need to drop words as much as possible. When the words are not needed, when they can be indicated by other endings, other suffixes, you should drop them. But of course, there are also some exceptions where they are needed. So trying to decide if they are needed or not is kind of like something that will come with practice. You need to expose yourself to a lot of Turkish content, and then you can start feeling if the pronouns are necessary or not. Only then you can have that feeling. Okay, and lastly, Turkish is a flexible language. Like many words can have a lot of meanings. I mean, of course, every language has this flexibility. English, German, Russian, Arabic, every language depends on the context. But when we take a closer look at Turkish, we see this much more. Turkish is very sensitive when it comes to context. If I'm not mistaken, the number of words in Turkish is very, very small compared to English. English vocabulary is like maybe 1 million words, while Turkish is like 100,000. So there's a lot of difference. That's because in Turkish we don't need many words to say the same thing, or more like we use the same word to say the same thing. We recycle the words. We don't need to come up with new words. Okay, so let's get into details. And what is this verb agglutination, or why are the verbs important? In this example, you can see how this sentence in English, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am counting everything. 8 words, including postpositions, pronouns, negative things. 8 words equal to 1 word in Turkish. That is thanks to these suffixes. There's gelemeyebilirdik. When you say gelemeyebilirdik, you are basically saying we might not have been able to come. You can see how Turkish is practical and how the verbs make this sentence. We have this gel, that's the verb, that's the action to come, gelmek. And then we include or we insert more suffixes to give more information. Like gelmek, action, when, who, in what mood, in which sense. Okay, I will give more details about this. And then sentence structure. Again, compared to English, sentence structure is also very different, because I think, or based on my observation, based on my readings and watching videos, like watching things, the reason is because Turkish, or the old Turkish, the very Turkish people, they lived in a different area compared to English. The very first Turkish people, like the origins of the Turkish language, come from like nomadic people. They used to ride horses, they used to keep traveling. So they tried to say things as, as few as possible. instead of having a very long sentence, or instead of complicating the sentences, we instead of having them separate, like one by one, we just put them in one sentence. And structure. This is also like a side effect of the culture, of the lifestyle. In Turkish, I don't know what to call this in English, but like the matter of fact, they keep an important position in the sentence. In English, you basically say two sentences. I know, and that's one sentence, and then the second sentence, that you went. You put two sentences together. I know that you went. In Turkish, we say them in the same sentence, in the same structure. Ben senin gittiğini biliyorum. This senin gittiğini, like the fact that you went, holds this position. We use it as an object in the sentence. Okay? There will be many other examples, such as saying, onun gelmesi beni mutlu etti. So that is basically the fact that he came made me happy. Onun gelmesi beni mutlu etti. You can see how the fact that he came is actually one sentence, but we use it in position of a subject. What made me happy? Beni ne mutlu etti? What is the subject? The fact that he came. Onun gelmesi. Okay. We will talk about more examples, but now I want to talk about omission. In simple words, dropping things. We drop the words. I will go back to the roots of the Turkish language. Like, imagine that you're always on the go. You're always moving somewhere. So in that context, would you need to say, or would you want to say many words? Of course not. You would want to say one thing and, get over it, and then move on to whatever you were doing. So Turkish is a very active language. We say one thing and it gives the meaning. We drop the other things. We get rid of the other extra things. In English, like in sentences like this, you need to indicate the subject, like whatever you are referring to, like it, I'm talking about it, and it is great. In Turkish, you don't need to say it. It will be implied from the context. I mean, sometimes you can also drop it in English, like you can just say great, but I'm talking about sentences like, how is the weather today? Then you will say, it is great. But in Turkish, we don't need to repeat the it is great, because I already mentioned the weather in the context. Bugün hava nasıl? Harika. Not bu harika. We don't need to say bu. Or how are you? Sen nasılsın? I already mentioned sen. So in the answer, I don't need to say ben. In English, you can also drop it. Yes, in that context, you can also say, like, how are you? Good. But, mostly it is I'm good, or that is good, that is great. In Turkish, we don't do that. We mostly go with great, harika, güzel. Or this example, the dir, exactly. So when you say, this is a cat, in Turkish, we basically drop the is part and don't say anything. So we say, this cat, bu kedi. This cat, not bu kedidir. There are other suffixes we drop. These are just the key points for now, the main things. We will go into details with more examples. And lastly, context. Context, context, context. So I kind of want to have a reminder, like an announcement. When you ask a question, please include context. I see in the questions forum, for example, we see people asking one word, like, what does that mean? Like, it could mean 10 different things. It could mean 20 different things. I can't list all of them. Of course, I'm going to respond with a few, like, most common things. But this problem is mostly problematic. Like, this is mostly problematic when you take out one part, when it is conjugated. Like, sometimes people ask, what does geldiği mean? Like, or this part, what does gittiğini mean? I don't know. It means a lot of things. It depends on the sentence where it belongs. So instead of just asking gittiğini, you need to give me the full sentence so I can see the context and answer accordingly. Okay? And lick. Evin nasıl? Güzel. You need to drop the dir. Evin nasıl? Güzel. In fact, adding the dir gives it a bit of different sentence. What does as mean? I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, in English, of course, context is important in many languages. When you ask a question in English, like as could mean as much as, or as someone, like comparing it. It could mean a lot of things. So when you give the context, you will help the other person answer the question. And when you imply something in the context in the Turkish language, the other person will assume you are referring to something. Okay, Turkish, like the way the Turkish people communicate is kind of based on assuming. We say one thing, but we drop the other indicators. The other person assume you are talking about it. Most of the time, we don't have to assume because there will be suffixes to show what we are talking about. But sometimes it will be solely randomly assuming. Okay, and now let's talk about agglutination and how we basically knit a Turkish sentence, like one small part. Each time we add a small part, then as a result we have a whole thing. Okay, so we will see examples, and again I want to give a quick reminder. I planned this lesson to go as in one slide for basic things for beginners, and then one slide for advanced things. So in this slide, we will talk about the basic things. We will talk about the basic agglutination. So agglutination basically means, in simple words, it is small attachments, small suffixes to a word. So each conjugated verb or declined noun changes the meaning of the word based on the context. Now we will see how it changes. We will see a table of a conjugation from the very basics, step by step. Like, what is the action? First of all, you need to ask yourself, what is the action? What is happening? In this example, the action is koşmak, to run. And the second question you need to ask, you need to give an answer to is, when does this action take place? The action of running, when is it happening? Did it happen yesterday? Is it happening now? Or will it happen tomorrow in the future? Depending on the answer, you will need to put different suffixes. So if the action happened yesterday, if someone did perform this action, the running, yesterday, it is koştu. If it will happen tomorrow, it is koşacak. So you will need to mark the time of the action. And finally, you will need to mark the person of the action. First, what happened, what is happening, and then when, and now who. What, when, who. So maybe it is I that is performing the action. It is I that is running. Ben koşuyorum. Or ben koştum in the past. Or sen koşuyorsun. These endings, these are called personal markers. They show the action. This is how agglutination works. Like you put one piece each time. First, the tense, time, and then person. Okay? And of course, verbs are not the only ones we put suffixes to. Sometimes we put them to nouns, like a normal word, like an object. In that case, it is called declension. These are the noun case endings. Like now you need to ask again, what? And what is the object? Like what is, I'm running, okay, but where? I'm running where? Now I need to have more information about the object. Where is the person performing this action? If the person is running at the house, it is evde. If the person is running towards the house, it is eve. If the person is running from the house, like running away, going away, evden. So each time you need to decline the object, evde, eve, evden. There are so much more structures, rules on to choose these suffixes. We have recently done lessons. You can go to the Google folder and check the noun case endings and verb suffixes. But for now, I will keep it at this. Just wanted to give you an idea how to build your sentence. Start with the action, think about when, and think about who. Once you got this done, move on to object. When, like, where is this happening? Or what, you are doing something, but you are doing it towards where? You are doing it towards the house, or at the house, or from the house. You need to have the object. Of course, I could include more things like with whom. Like then you will say annemle, with my mom. There will be many other options, but I only had this much space. So this is the first part, basics of agglutination. And now let's talk about the crazy part, the gelemeyebilirdik part. So this part will be kind of conjugation practice, the advanced conjugation practice. Because agglutination can go to great extents. It can go to this. We might not have been able to come. Gelemeyebilirdik. Oh, I even forgot the dik here. Let me fix it. Okay. So, gelemeyebilirdik. This is loaded with many information. Gel, like come, and when, like here, di. And who? Biz. Gel, biz. But now since this is an advanced conjugation, now there are moods, like the ability, and then negative, like not, and then the buffer, and then the possibility, ebil, like they might not, and ir, about the time, like in the recent past, and then dik, irdik, combination of ir and dik. Gelemeyebilirdik. Okay, and the next example, what if I can't ask? So, sor, maz, sam. Pronouncing this is a bit difficult. Sor, ma. Since ends here, I can't say it, so I will say it together. Sor, maz, sam. What if I can't ask? Again, I will follow the same steps. The action, sormak, to ask, and when. So this doesn't have a tense marker because it has the sa. Sa is kind of like a general tense, or you can think about the near future. What if the sa is here is more like if, what if, and then who, ben. What if I can't ask? Okay, and I will do more examples with you. If you want me to break down some conjugations, you can type it in the chat. If you want me to translate an English sentence into Turkish, you can type it in the chat. So I will be writing a lot of new things. And I will start with this, susabilmekten. So I will first start with the Turkish. Susabilmekten. Sus, abil, mekten. That one is tricky because it has mek and ten. I will say because of being able to susmak, to stop talking. Does that make sense? Because of mek. So I mean, because of is 10. Mek makes the verb a noun, and abil is being able to something, and susmak is a tricky verb. I don't think in English there's an equivalent. When you say sus, it is like stop talking, shut up, don't talk. There's not a direct translation. But because of being able to shut up, yeah, that works. Because of being able to keep quiet, stop talking, keep quiet, stop talking. Okay, and how much would Chuck if a woodchuck would. I will keep this for the end of the lesson. Maybe we can do it together. Okay. So I want to give this, like, we could have gone. We could have gone. So again, it has 4 words. In Turkish, it will be one word with many suffixes. Doğru Engin. Git, ebilirdik. Gidebilirdik. We could have gone. Gidebilirdik. So I highly recommend you to memorize each Turkish suffix. So only then you can recognize them when you see them in a sentence. And only then you can build your sentence. You need to know about the tense suffixes. You need to know about the mood suffixes. You need to know about the personal markers. These are the basic ones for beginners. After that, you need to know the combined suffixes like irdik, aorist, and d. Two tenses, one in one suffix. Irdik, or this one. I was going to go. I was going to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 words in English. How will we say it in Turkish? How many suffixes would we need? You can type it without spoilers. Don't bother yourself. Yes. Gidecektim. Gidecektim. Gidecekmiştim. No, that doesn't work. There are rules on using combinations. Gitmek üzereydim. That is, I was about to go. Gitmek üzereydim. So like in Turkish, it is one word, but 1, 2, 3 suffixes. This is the root, as I keep saying, like the action gitmek, to go, and when, ecekti, future past or past in the future. Like when you combine the future with the past, I was going to go, and then person, gidecektim. Okay, let's do one more example. Bir örnek daha yapalım. Say, wait, if you had told me, I know in English they need a object, but if you had told, like in the past, you didn't tell me, but if you had told, I would have done something. The result would have been different, like the imaginary situation. If you had told. How do we say this? And yes, correct. We say söyleseydin. Easy part is se for the same wish sentences. We also use it for conditionals. Söyle. This is the root. Seydin. Söyleseydin. Okay. So maybe this is a bit too advanced for some of you. We are only talking about how we conjugate verbs to have a full sentence. Like we are showing that it is possible with suffixes to say these full forms. For now, I think we have had enough examples. If there are no questions about agglutination, I will move to the other slide. But before moving, where will you stick the se in söyleyeceksin? Söyleyeceksen. Söyleyeceksen. I am going to write it. Söyleyeceksen. So this becomes if se, if you are going to say it. Say it. If you are going to say söyleyeceksen. This time it is about the future, so I changed the D to ecek for the future. So, and se for if, N for you, söyle for say, the root. Okay, so after this lesson, I recommend you go to a grammar book. I think there was a website to list Turkish suffixes. Of course, you shouldn't overwhelm yourself, but maybe take a look at the basics, such as tense markers, noun cases, and personal markers. When you have these three, you will make basic sentences. Yeah, that's website. Thank you. So in that website, you can see even the advanced forms. So do your research, do your study, and learn the suffixes. If you want to make a Turkish sentence, you need to know the suffixes. Because as we have just shown, we build the sentence based on the verb. Verb, tense, like time, person, and then we move to nouns, objects, like the dative, eve, ablative, evden, and then we move to advanced forms, such as conditionals, such as ability moods, potential moods. But yeah, learn one thing at a time, but start with the basics. Okay, and next, structure. This is going to get interesting, if not hard enough already. Again, as I said before, one slide for beginners, one slide for advanced speakers. So this slide is for beginners, just to show you the basics, or how a basic sentence is formed in Turkish. You know, people like to say this. I mean, when you talk when you have a conversation, people keep comparing it. Turkish is subject, object, verb. Yes, that is correct. But we will have a but in a bit. The colors will help you. It is kind of like you can see the positions. We say the have forgotten part at the end, and the my book part before the have forgotten. Okay, and now you can see the translation here. I want a beginner to translate this and tell me the order, the Turkish sentence. How would we say, you will read your book? You can type it in the chat. I'm waiting, and advanced speakers should wait as well. You will read your book. Close enough. There are some mistakes. Is there someone else who wants to fix the mistake? MX, that is a nice way to put it, yes. That's the order in Turkish. Your book will read. You guys are getting very close, but there are a few things you are missing. Gigabe, you also missed something. And Nemo, yeah, you are correct. And Kaya Kartala, you are also correct. Lick, you are so close, but you forgot about the vowel harmony. Yeah, Dekaner, correct. So I will write it now. Yes, now it is correct. Yeah. I mean the Turkish characters, but I will ignore that. You probably don't have your keyboard. So let's go to write it. Let's go to translating this sentence. So I'm starting with, wait, where did it go? Here. So sen so I need to start with subject, sen. Now I need the object, but the object is already modified. I need to also do the necessary modification with your. For this, if you remember from last week, not the last week, 2 weeks ago, senin kitabın, senin kitabın. And since this is in position of a direct object, I also need one more ending, the accusative case. Kitabını oku. So the tense, I will do this step by step again. Like the action of reading, will, acak, and who, sen, sın, sen, sın. Sen senin kitabını okuyacaksın. Of course, that's not even, that even could be improved. We will talk about them in the omission part by dropping the pronouns, but for now, for full clarity, I will keep the pronouns in there. And the last part, this time, you will try to make your own sentence. Like choose a pronoun, I, you, he, she, it, then choose a verb and a tense, and then choose an object. Make your own sentence. You will cook your food. Okay, that will work. This time you can write it in English, in Turkish again. Şimdi Türkçe yazabilirsin. Okay, I will be reading and correcting at the same time, since everyone will have their own answer. No one gets to cheat. So, ben dersi dinliyorum. Doğru. Sen yemeklerini pişireceksin. Doğru. Yemeğini yapacaksın. Doğru. Yemeğini pişireceksin. Doğru. You can have your own sentence, by the way. You don't have to translate the same one. Just use your imagination. Choose your own subject. Choose your own verb. Yeah, Dekanir, you can do that. Siz harikasınız. That is correct. But the interesting thing about your sentence, it doesn't have an object because it is not a verbal sentence. It is a nominal sentence. It's not wrong, just explaining a different type of sentences. The to be sentences, like you are great. In a nominal sentence, in a to be sentence, there is no object because there's no verb. So, profesyonel değil abi. Benim evimi temizleyeceğim. Benim evimi temizleyeceğim. O müzikleri dinliyorum. O müzikleri dinliyorum. Ben sütü içerim. Okay, that also works technically. But I don't think any native Turkish speaker would say sütü içerim. We will say ben süt içerim. These are about the differences between using accusative like ü and not using it. Ben dışarı gidecektim. Correct. I was going to go outside. Ben dışarı gidecektim. Benim evimi temizleyeceğim. Majunche, the object doesn't have to be accusative. It depends. In this context, in your sentence, ben süt içeceğim, it doesn't have to be in accusative. It could be, but when you say it in accusative, sütü, You are making it definite. I drink the milk. Like the milk that we told earlier. Ben kutuyu kontrol ediyorum. Doğru. Bu cümleyi kendi kendime yazdım. Doğru. Biz çorbamı yiyoruz. You guys are eating your soup. Like two people eating one soup from one soup. Interesting. But correct. True. Sharing is caring. Onun köpeğini alacağım. Onun köpeğini alacağım. Okay. So let's have the final examples and move to the other table. I want to show you how to include more information. So far we only had one object, but sometimes you may need to talk about the location, the locative case, the post positions. How do we do that? We do that by inserting the declined noun in the correct position. In this sentence, wait, I have forgotten my book. On my book, on the book, I mean on the table. On the table. So, as you can see, the order is not again the same. Ben kitabımı, like kitabımı, wait, I want to draw lines to show the connection. Like ben kitabımı masada unuttum. Ben kitabımı masada unuttum. I mean, I'm sure you must have seen the post on Reddit or maybe Twitter on social media when they compare the Turkish sentence order to English. There was a big sentence comparing it to English, and it was all like something like this. Each time it was going from one to the other side. So we kind of have the same thing here. Masada, like on the table, goes at the end in English. Masa, it comes before the verb in Turkish. And sen kitabını arkadaşınla okuyacaksın. That is correct, Lucas. Sen kitabını arkadaşınla okuyacaksınız. Wait, where did it go again? Sen kitabını arkadaşınla okuyacaksın. You will read your book with your friend. So yeah, let's do the freestyle practice. Like one pronoun of your own choosing, verb, object, and the extra info like with, on, from, whatever you can think of. Yeah, it is an order. Like you need to share your book with your friend. Onunla okuyacaksın. Senin köpeğini markette arayacağım. Doğru. Senin kitabını arkadaşınla okuman lazım. Doğru, güzel. Oh, several people are typing. The examples are getting interesting and creative. Seninle so seninle evimde müzik dinlemeyeceğiz. Seninle evimde müzik dinlemeyeceğiz. This time I switched music with evimde because müzik dinlemek, think about it as a one word. Müzik dinlemek. Seninle evimde müzik dinlemeyeceğiz. Ben yarın koşuya gideceğim. Bu sunucuda herkes bu derslere katılacak. Katılmak is a dative. You join to a lesson. Yarın sinemada filmi arkadaşımla seyredeceğim. Doğru. Wait, I need to give the check marks accordingly. Yarın sinemada filmi arkadaşımla seyredeceğim. Doğru. Ben arkadaşımla okuldan gittim. That is correct, but it depends on the context. You will say, ben arkadaşımla okuldan gittim if someone is waiting for you at the school. Then you will tell them, I gittim, okuldan gittim, like I left school, don't wait for me. It is a bit weird. It is like, it highly depends on the context. Çaydanlığımı ocağa koydum, doğru. Seninle evimde müzik dinlemeyeceğiz. Dinlemek does not take accusative. It shouldn't, or I mean it may or may not. If you use accusative, it becomes the music. Like the music we talked earlier. You are referring to the definite music. But when you don't use the accusative, it is music in general. Yüksek şans bu olmayacak. O oyununu kardeşiyle oynamıyor. Oynamıyor. And with pronouns, it is always used with accusative. That's the difference. Like when you say music and when you say sen is a pronoun like you. Like pronouns are always used in accusative. Ben evinle, annenle gideceğim. Okay, let's have the final examples. I want to move to the advanced part. I want to show more examples for the advanced speakers. Okay, and finally, let's talk about the crazy part.